Everybody, my name is Wendy Merron. I am a coach and a board-certified hypnotherapist, and I'm the founder of the Powerful Thinking program for women who want to access their confidence, the confidence they need to move forward and pursue their dreams. And what I'm doing tonight is I'm sharing one of the really easy, simple techniques to help you, to take you from feeling as if you can't do what you need to do to feeling calm and confident and comfortable doing it. I'm going to ask you to, at the end, I'll be answering questions, and so just type them over there in the chat side. And tonight I'm going to be working with Jodi, and Jodi is kind enough, or should I say brave enough, to volunteer.
Absolutely.
So just for a moment, Jodi, can you just let people know who you are, what you do, and what it is, well, just who you are and what you do right now, just so they know who you are.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for having me. And I just wanted to put myself out there this evening. Obviously, I'm looking forward to what this evening has in store, but in hopes of putting myself out there that I'm able to help others. But I am a health coach certified through the Villanova College of Nursing, and basically I help awaken the internal desire of people to improve their health and achieve the best health possible for their age.
Wow, that's great. And she's really helped me a lot. I'm about 78 years old, and I look a lot younger.
You're doing fabulous.
Thank you. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is when we want to move forward in our life, what stops us? Well, the only thing that really stops us are our fears. And when it all boils down to it, our fears are simply thoughts inside of us. We have thousands and thousands of thoughts every day, 15 to 50,000 thoughts a day. And of all those thoughts, somebody estimated maybe 5% are new. Well, what that really means is that 95% are repeating thoughts, the same old thoughts over and over again. And I don't know about you, but I've had that happen quite frequently. Although I did put it up on Facebook once and mentioned this statistic, mentioned these numbers, and a friend of mine said, "Oh no, that's not true." He said, "I only have 3 thoughts." He said, "I'm simplifying my life." Well, when we have all these thoughts, they affect how we feel, and they actually can cause us to not even attempt to do things that we want to do. What I help clients with, and what I do in my program and what we're going to be doing tonight, is teaching you a technique so that you can easily, when you're aware of that thought, you're going to be able to stop that thought and create a new thought. Now, and there's a reason for that. And let me kind of backtrack and tell you, give you an idea of how this works. When we focus our thoughts on what we want in our life, we have the ability to achieve it. So while I'm talking, if you can think about a time in your life where you set out to plan something, a goal that you wanted to achieve, and you achieved it. So Jodi, for you, what was a time when you actually set out to achieve a goal, and maybe it was to learn something new, maybe it was finish school, I don't know what it was. What did you do? Something that you did that you're proud of doing?
Probably related to my profession now. I was able to lose 43 pounds over 5 years ago.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
So when you set out to achieve that goal, I would guess that you had an image of what you wanted to do.
I did, yes.
And you knew exactly what your goal was.
Yes.
Did you know what did you say to yourself while you were going through the process?
At first, obviously, I had a lot of enthusiasm. As time went on, and even though I continued to see results, there were bumps in the road along the way. But I had such a determination inside of me that nothing was going to stop me from achieving my goal.
Okay, that's great. And so you knew what you wanted, you focused your attention on what you wanted, and even in spite of all those bumps, you achieved your goal and you lost 45 pounds. I am blown away. That's so awesome.
Thank you.
When you set out to do all this, if in your mind you had had the thought of, I don't know if I can do this, how successful do you think you would have been?
Not very.
Right. So if we take this simple concept and think about, for example, imagine a basketball player. He's sitting in the locker room, he's had a miserable day with his kids and his wife, and he's not feeling so good, he's having trouble with finances, and he's sitting there and he's thinking about, you know, going out onto the court, throwing the ball bounces on the rim of the basket and drops down, and hearing the crowd boo. And he's thinking about all this, and he gets up and he walks onto the court. Well, what kind of game do you think he's going to play?
Yeah, not the top of his game, that's for sure.
That's right, not. So now if we rewind that and imagine this same basketball player sitting on the bench, and he still had that crappy time with his family, and he's still dealing with the finances and doing all that. But this time, he imagines himself walking onto the court, his shoulders back, hears the crowd cheer, and he just imagines the ball neatly going through the net. They're cheering, they're so excited for him. He gets up, goes out on the court. What kind of game is he going to play?
Fabulous.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's simple human nature that when we focus on what we want to achieve, we achieve it. And so it matters where our thoughts are. If my thoughts are, I'm afraid I can't do it, I'm afraid I'm not smart enough, I'm not young enough, I'm not old enough, I'm not thin enough, other people can do it but I can't, we'll never get there. So getting the confidence we need is what helps us to move forward.
Correct.
So what I'd like you to do for a moment, Jodi, is to stand up where you are, and just make sure the camera's on you so we can see you. I'll let you know. And everybody who's listening, if you would, while Jodi's getting the camera ready, I'd like you to think about something going on in your life that you're having a hard time with, that you're having a hard time moving forward, you're having a hard time feeling good about. Maybe it's something small like, you know, I hate that I'm stuck in this awful job and I'll never get out of it. That's actually pretty big, come to think of it. Or think about something on your own, one particular thing that you notice a lot of worries and concerns or fears surrounding that. Because while I'm helping Jodi, I'd like you to kind of keep it in the back of your mind, and you'll be able to work on this on your own almost at the same time. So Jodi, what's the one thing that you wish you could have more confidence with that would make a big difference in your life?
I would like to overcome my fear of success in my business.
Okay.
And be more confident that I am going to be successful.
Okay. So let me ask a couple questions surrounding this. When you think about success, what comes into your mind? What's your first thought?
I don't know, honestly.
Okay, let me ask it in a different way. When you think about your career and making money,
Hmm.
what's the first thought that comes to your mind?
Travel, giving.
I should be more clear. What's the concern or worry or fear that you have?
That I'm not going to be able to maintain it.
Okay, perfect. So that you're afraid, are you afraid you won't even get to that success area? Or you're afraid, is that what you're afraid of?
Yes,
Okay, so you're afraid you will not even be successful.
correct. I tend to do a lot of comparative reality.
What's that?
When I view somebody that is successful within my organization, but I don't see myself as good as them.
Okay, got it. So your thought is, I'm afraid I won't be successful.
Correct.
Okay. So I'd like you to imagine the room you're standing in, where that one direction is a negative, the negative wall, and one direction is a positive wall. So just with your fingers, point to the negative side.
My left.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you simply to move to your left about 6 inches so we can still see you. Perfect. And I'd like you to say that thought to yourself. I'm afraid I'm not going to be successful. I want you to close your eyes, and I'll repeat it out loud, and you can repeat it inside. While you're repeating it inside, I want you to notice how you feel, whether you feel things in your head or your chest or your stomach, or maybe you feel them, maybe you don't. It doesn't really matter. So I'd like you to say, I'm afraid I'm never going to be successful. I'm afraid I'm never going to be successful. So close your eyes, and I want you to have that thought. I'm afraid I'm never going to be successful. I'm never going to be successful. I'm never going to achieve my goals. Okay? And open your eyes and tell me what you noticed when you were saying that to yourself, if anything.
I felt like I was kind of curling up,
Okay, good.
kind of
Now,
like position kind of thing. You just kind of have your shoulders down and your head down, and
okay. And so, well, what's the possibility, on just gut feeling, on a scale of 0 to 100%, what's the possibility that you'll never be successful?
if I continue that mindset, pretty low.
Well, just in general, forgetting the mindset, but what's the possibility in real life?
0.
Okay. So and what's the possibility that you will be successful?
In that, if I stay on the left side, I'm not following, I'm sorry.
Okay, because I'm not being clear, and I apologize. So in reality, when you have this, in reality, today, from today forward, not changing or knowing anything, what's the possibility you'll be successful? Just general possibility.
Probably about 75%.
Okay, good. So that thought, I'm afraid I won't be successful, it's a true thought and it's a real thought, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. And it's also a thought that gives you you have a physical reaction to that thought.
Correct.
And it's a 25% chance that that thought will come true.
Yes.
So the reality is when we have a worry in our mind, we're thinking about something in the future that hasn't even happened. It's based on all of our past experiences and all of our baggage and garbage, but the reality is that we're being psychic. Okay, I'm going to look in the future and thinking that this is a possibility for me. And I don't know. I don't know you well enough. You're not psychic, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Okay, so but it's a real thought and it's a true thought. And what I'd like you to do is go to the right, your right, so it's the middle space, and stop right there. And we know that, just like with that basketball player who focused and thought about what he wanted and he could achieve it. And just as when you knew that you could lose the weight you wanted to lose, you achieved it. So we're going to test something out here.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you to use your imagination with this. The flip side of, I'm afraid I'm going to fail, what's the flip side of that thought?
That I'm not going to fail.
Okay, well, let's say it in a positive way. I'll be successful, right?
I'll be successful, yes.
So I will be successful. So what I'd like you to do is, while you're here, and this is the positive section, close your eyes, and I'll say it out loud while you repeat it inside. I will be successful. In fact, let's act as if you are. I am successful. I am successful, because we have to act as if we've already achieved our goals. I am successful. I am successful. And as you're repeating, I am successful, I'd like you to notice how you feel. I'd like you to notice if you hear a little voice back there that goes, I don't think so. In our office, we call it a BS meter, start to rise. So open your eyes and tell me what you noticed when you said, I am successful.
I definitely had a little voice in the back of my head saying, yeah, whatever. Not
Okay.
yet.
That's cute. So when you're here being positive, or I will be successful, I am successful, that's not entirely true, is it? You can't say that to yourself. You can't act as if you've achieved your goal like the basketball player acted. Okay, I've achieved that basket, I feel awesome. Mm-hmm. And that little meter in the back, or that little voice, what that really is our inner subconscious mind that has a belief someplace inside that is not congruent with your goals are. It doesn't believe you can be successful. Consciously you go, yeah, I can be successful because other people can do it. Other people can drive a car, I can drive a car. We're people. But that little voice is something we have to pay attention to. But we don't always have time to pay attention to that voice, or even dig down and look and figure out what that voice is really what our beliefs are. We know it's a belief that's limiting us. So now what I'd like you to do is move to your right another 6 inches. And that section right there, that's your powerful thinking section. You just went from negative to positive, and now you're at the powerful thinking section of your space.
Okay.
This time, I'd like you to close your eyes, and we're going to test this, and I'd like you to add 5 words to your positive statement. And the 5 words are, I like the idea that. I like the idea that I can be successful. I like the idea that I can be successful. I like the idea that I can be successful. I want you to repeat that a couple times and focus that I like the idea that I can be successful in my business. I want you to keep focusing on that. And now, open your eyes. And what I want you to do is share with us, was that little voice there when you said that?
No.
Not a bit?
No, honestly.
Okay. What this tells us is that when you say this statement to yourself, you can say the statement and you can actually repeat it over and over as many times as you want. But where you were in the positive section, saying I am successful, I can be successful, it's really not entirely true, so you really can't, you'll end up dropping it. You won't be able to say it.
Right.
Okay. So I'd like you to do another thing for me, please.
Sure.
While you're here, close your eyes again and say, I like the idea that I can be successful in my business, and I want you to let your mind kind of wander and start to daydream and notice what goes on through your mind while you say that. So when you say it in your mind, I like the idea that I can be successful. Notice your thoughts, notice where they're wandering. I like the idea that I am successful. Keep on focusing on that. And now open your eyes and tell us what kind of images or thoughts went through your mind.
Travel came into play. Debt went away. It was very freeing.
Okay, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
Now I'd like you to go and take a couple steps back to that negative space. Remember that original statement that you were saying to yourself? Perfect. Which is, what was the original statement? I'm afraid I'm going to fail?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm afraid I won't be successful. I'd like you to close your eyes and I want you to say that to yourself. I'm afraid I won't be successful. I'm afraid I'm going to work at this job. It's going to keep coaching and putting myself out there and I won't be successful. Keep focusing on that thought. Notice where your mind wanders, where it goes to, and open your eyes and tell us what went through your head this time.
Still going back to feeling withdrawn and not real confident, obviously.
Okay. So that old thought, I'm afraid I'm not going to be successful, you were really focusing on something you didn't want, right?
Yes.
And it actually caused you to have a physical reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember that in your life, when you focused and thought about the things that you wanted to do, you were able to achieve them much more easily because you focused on the end result that you wanted. Because when you're over here, the end result is failing, and I know you don't want that.
Correct.
But that's where your mind is going frequently.
Yes.
And sometimes it might go to the other side, which is, well, let me daydream and imagine that I'm going to be successful. But it doesn't stay there very often, does it?
No, it does not.
It can't, because it's not necessarily true. So why don't you have a seat,
Okay.
and let's just talk about what came out of that for you. So we're dealing with two different things here. We're focusing on Jodi, that she's been thinking about things that she doesn't want. And when we're afraid, when we're worried, we're always thinking about things or experiences that we don't want to have.
Mm-hmm.
They're true thoughts and they're real thoughts. If you let your mind wander all the time, it's going to, because of all the thoughts we have, it's going to naturally sometimes go to that negative space, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So to get you over to the other part, which is the positive, the powerful thinking, we have to add, I like the idea that I can be successful. Because that little voice wasn't there, was it?
No, it wasn't.
So if you were to do the positive, which is, I am successful, or I can be successful, that little voice is going to get in your way.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very simple concept. And when you think about, and not just for this, Jodi, but when you think about other things in your life,
Mm-hmm.
that even when we tend to worry about things, not just fears, although they're close cousins. For example, I have one of my neighbors, when it's in the winter and it's, blizzard season, and she's constantly going, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? I'm afraid we're going to lose our heat. What if we run out of milk? What if this happens? What if this happens? And she works herself up.
Mm.
Is she thinking about things that she doesn't want?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, she's thinking about, she doesn't want that, does she? She doesn't want to have all those bad things happen.
Right.
But that's all she can think about. Now, if she said, I know this blizzard's going to come and we'll be fine, we'll totally be fine, that BS meter is going to go way, way high. So she can actually say to herself, I like the idea that everything's fine. And she can say that to herself day in and day out, all the time. Now, we can't necessarily, although maybe we can, control really what happens to you, because you have to take action to move forward. But I can't guarantee what's going to happen. I can guarantee, though, that if you're over on that side with that thought in your mind, that it's going to feel bad and you'll have possibly a physical reaction to it. And I can guarantee when you're focusing on what you want, I like the idea that you're going to feel better. You're actually, it's almost like you open up the channels of energy or light or whatever. But when you're in the negative side, you're looking at life through this just narrow tube. When you're thinking, I like the idea that, you actually allow yourself to be more aware of the possibilities. More things can happen that you'll be aware of that you can use to your advantage. It's a much better place to be, too.
Yes. Because I just, for me personally, I think it's just an easy concept to embrace because you're not trying to prove anything otherwise.
Right. And what happens is that you can easily take, I like the idea that, and put it in front of anything that you're worried, concerned, or have a fear about. Because the reality is all this is future stuff. And unless we're psychic, we have no idea. And if our thoughts do have any, we know our thoughts have power over us. We know if I have a thought about, let's say I'm going to be speaking in front of 10,000 people, and I'm starting to stress and be worried, and my heart starts to pound, and I start to sweat, that my thought has physical power over my body. And that's what we're doing, is we're shifting your thoughts. And I guarantee when you're thinking, I like the idea that, it's easier to take the action you need to take so that you can be the success. I mean, you've been successful at other things in your life.
Yes.
And there's no difference between you and somebody else, except that you've experienced success. But it's that little voice, and all that little voice is we're going to label him or her a limiting belief. And
Right.
there's ways to overcome that. And through my program, and through some of these webinars, we're going to address some of those ways. So before I close this part of the webinar, if people want to ask any questions, I'm going to look at the questions and answer as many questions as I can. And I happen to know that it takes a few minutes for the questions to show up. That one of the things that happens when we're starting to think about things that we want in our life, we want to make changes, and we kind of feel stuck, is that this is a practice. I don't know anybody who's perfect at this. In fact, because we have so many thoughts, we kind of have to start to be aware of our thoughts. If being aware of your thoughts feels like you're adding too much to your plate, then just notice how you feel. If you're feeling bad, then I guarantee you're thinking about something that you don't want in your life. Well, either that or you had a bad dinner the night before. So please, if there's any questions, put them in the chat part, and I will be happy to answer them at the end. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that throughout the day, if you can put this on a little Post-it note, that I like the idea that I can be successful. I like the idea I can meet new people. I like the idea I can help more people. I like the idea that people share my name with others. Whatever it is that you want to say, put them on Post-it notes on your computer, on your bathroom mirror. What you're going to be doing is the more you see it, the more you think it, the more you feel it, the more you're actually training the subconscious part of your mind, and you're reprogramming the way you want to think and feel. And this is a practice. Just like when you teach somebody, when you teach a little kid how to wash their hands, you teach them how to stand up on the stool, turn the hot water on and the cold water, and get the soap in, all that, lather it, and then rinse. Well, when you teach that little child, next day when that child washes his hands, can they do it perfectly? No, probably not. It has to become a subconscious habit. And thinking becomes a subconscious habit the same way as doing things. And that requires reinforcement and repetition. When it becomes subconscious, then you find yourself feeling better because you're on that side all the time anyway. So there's a lot of reasons to start to use these simple concepts. And this is one of the most profound ways of feeling better quickly that I can share with you. And I'm hoping that each and every one of you has gotten something out of this webinar that you can use immediately. So I want to thank you, Jodi, for being a part of this and putting yourself out. I really appreciate it. You're a very brave woman, and I like the idea that you're successful too.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I did have, so for those people, the webinar's over, but I am going to answer the questions right here. And Dana just had a question. She said, could you use this, for instance, to say, I like the idea that I don't have anxiety? Dana, that's a wonderful question. And the answer is both yes and no. So Dana said, can you use this to say, I like the idea I don't have anxiety? You cannot use those words and say that I don't have anxiety. I'm going to discuss that at another webinar, why, but for right now, because we're out of time, Dana, what I'd like you to say to yourself is, I like the idea, and think about how you want to feel, not what you don't want. Remember, this is about want. So maybe you want to feel calm and confident. You could say, I like the idea that I feel calm and confident. Or I like the idea that every day I'm getting better and better. We can't use the word don't. And that's a great question, because then I will be addressing this on one of the next webinars. So thank you. And everybody, thank you very much for showing up. I appreciate it, and I hope that you use this for this week only. Keep on using it, noticing how you feel, and even notice if things are shifting and maybe you're doing things differently than you didn't expect. So I like the idea. You all have a great day, and thanks a lot, Jodi. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.